Welcome to Tech Talk, a podcast featuring employees and leaders discussing all things tech at Mutual of Omaha. Join us to learn what tech professionals can gain from a career with us. Let's talk tech. Hi, I'm Shauna Dorsey.
And I'm Brian Poppy. Welcome to another edition of Tech Talk. So, Shauna, how's your week been?
So far, so good. Just getting ready for another 5K tomorrow. So it'll be number 15, I believe
15
now.
5Ks. That's a lot of Ks.
A lot of Ks, a lot of walking Ks. What is it, like
75 Ks, I think, in fact, yeah.
75 Ks, about 50 Ks walking.
That's a pretty good ratio, I think.
It's not too bad.
I mean,
not too bad.
I've heard there's a rumor that you typically get key lime pie afterwards. Is that true?
I do. Even when I don't feel like I've earned it. I think there was a 5K where I walked the whole thing and I still had a slice of key lime. I'm like, you know what? I got out here.
I got up. I walked 5Ks. I need a slice of key lime pie. Man, that actually sounds pretty good. It is the middle of summer. A key lime pie sounds pretty great right now.
So are the key lime pies better in Florida?
I would say so, but the funny thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with Edwards key lime pie in the freezer aisle. Amazing. You can get them anywhere.
Well, all right. I know what I'm doing this afternoon. Do I have to run a 5K to get a slice? Like, will they check my ribbon when I get to the grocery store looking for an Edwards key lime pie?
Don't you have a 4K TV? I think as long as there's a K involved
Perfect.
somewhere, you can.
Love it. All right, special guest today. We've got Hunter Huggins joining us from HR. So, Hunter, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So we've got a few questions, but we'll see where the conversation takes us. As an HR recruiter for IT positions, tell us about your day-to-day. What do you do here at Mutual of Omaha?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So recruiters do a lot. We wear several different hats. It's a little bit all over the place, but a lot of it's partnering. So partnering with hiring managers, understanding their roles. Candidates really appreciate when you can actually speak to the position and the roles and responsibilities versus just like asking them about some buzzwords. And also just kind of understanding like the team dynamic. I mean, Mutual of Omaha is a big company. We have around 1,200 associates in our IS department. And while we have, pretty consistent culture across the board, there's definitely different teams that have like a little bit of different dynamics going on. Maybe they're doing, happy hours or they're doing some other kind of fun stuff. So just trying to stay on top of that. And then just, creating a value, just kind of understanding the role and kind of the value that adds to the organization. We're marketers too, so kind of creating a plan to best attract candidates to the posting through crafting it like a job description, going on socials, but also through kind of having an engaging outreach message, building a lot of relationships. So that's with the candidates, being able to ask them good and meaningful questions. Listening is a big part of what we do, so kind of understanding their experience, their career interests. So even if that position is not a match for them, we're going to try and keep them in mind for future opportunities. The company's continuing to grow, and as we grow, we're going to have a variety of needs that could align with that candidate's experience. And then, kind of through that conversation, really we can become advocates for the candidate. The recruiter has an opportunity to talk to the candidate, understand their experience and career interests, and get to know them more than just what's on the resume. And so that can help us with kind of reducing bias in later steps of the process, kind of increasing diversity throughout the organization, and really helping us to kind of present candidates that are going to be an amazing fit for Mutual of Omaha. And then the other thing that we really do a lot of is being a brand and culture champion. So there's a lot of times when a candidate's first experience is going to be with the recruiter, and really we have a tight window to make a great impression. So it's important that we get that right. And so our team meets regularly to talk about like the candidate experience, ensuring that it's a great process, ensuring that we've got a good value proposition that aligns with the culture of the organization. Can be a little bit difficult because I think each candidate has different expectations and it's just rapidly changing. But we do our best to get it right more than we get it wrong.
Yeah, that sounds like a tough job. I mean, you just described, I think, 5 jobs in one, from marketer to sales to advocate to brand champion. That you got a whole bunch of stuff that you've got to do for those candidates. So I appreciate your work.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll tell my boss so that way I can let her know I'm doing 5 jobs. Maybe she'll give me a raise.
Just send her a link to this video when it's ready.
Right?
Um, so, in addition to the challenges and all the different things that you're responsible for, the job market's also very competitive, right? So can you tell us what are your top recruiting challenges and some of the things your team's doing to address them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the challenges are, changing a lot as well. But Mutual of Omaha is a great company with an amazing culture. And even though we've been around for a really long time and as well known as we are, there's still a lot of people who haven't heard of us or don't really know what we do. They're like, oh, you're that insurance company. And so we work really hard to get Mutual of Omaha's brand out there on job postings and trying to get it in the right spot at the right time. But it's it's a new market today. Being in the right place or on LinkedIn is just really not enough anymore. The messaging really has to resonate. So our talent acquisition team works a lot on making sure that we're meeting with managers, talking to new hires after they've come on to understand their experience, and some of our other partners to ensure that we've got a great employment value proposition that keeps in line with like the company culture. The other thing that's really kind of a big challenge from the IS recruiting standpoint is that our IT department is just constantly evolving. The company is heavily involved in tech and modernization, and kind of this rapid involvement of the technology just inherently is challenging to stay up with. So there's this kind of constant battle and not just like the technology changing, but a lot of competition out there, all kind of chasing after the same candidates with these specialized skill sets. So really it's important for the talent acquisition team to kind of stay on top of this tech. So, we're out there, we're sitting in on like all IS meetings to kind of learn about what the business is doing. We're going to tech conferences and kind of sitting in to kind of understand what the tech is, and so we can speak meaningfully to that technology. And I think the candidates appreciate that when it's not just like, hey, do you have X years in this technology? Do you have X years in this technology? We can get to know them a little bit better.
Have you received any feedback from some of the new efforts that your team is trying out to address the competition in the market?
Well, I think over this last year, we've hired over 120 external resources into our IS department. We've also helped over 60 current associates change jobs within the company. So I think what we're doing is working, but we need to stay on top of it, and it is something that will continually be a challenge. And we partner with a lot of different parts of the company, and so we kind of lean on them as much as they lean on us to make sure it's all successful.
Well, as one of the champions of TechMod, I certainly thank you for the work that you're doing in both in finding the new associates and then making sure that our existing ones get opportunities that they're looking for. So as you're looking, I mean, you said you hired 120 associates last year. That's a lot of folks to come into the door. Tell me a little bit about the types of things that you look for in new candidates. Like, how can a candidate stand out? And as kind of an aside, I've had a long-standing theory that the cover letters that people write don't even get read at all.
Yeah. Well, so I think if you are applying to a job, it seems so simple, but it's really helpful from the recruiter standpoint is read the job description. There's a lot of really good information in there that's going to help you to kind of craft your resume in a way in which you can kind of adjust some of your experience to kind of more directly align with what's being requested in the job posting. Now, I get it. You might be out there applying to a lot of job postings, and so maybe really kind of doing a deep dive on each of them doesn't make sense. But just even making some of the little efforts can really go a long way. I think from a cover letters perspective, it's not my go-to. If I'm looking through a resume and I'm thinking, wow, this person's like 80% and they've got a cover letter, then I'll jump into that cover letter to have a look and see if maybe they're calling out a few things that they're doing that you wouldn't traditionally just put into your resume. And I think, so the cover letter isn't a bygone era type of thing. I think it's something that's maybe not as looked at anymore. So you're not wrong, Brian, but it's definitely probably I would call it like the back letter, not the cover letter. And then I think the other thing maybe to dispel, if we're talking about kind of what's happening in talent acquisition and what's being done and what's not being done is like AI. So by and large, AI, it's still a growing technology. Most companies aren't using it, and so if you are getting a response back from someone in our talent acquisition department, it's not because some bot said that you're not a good fit. Someone from the talent acquisition team has actually taken the time to review your resume and made a determination based on your qualifications. So there's no overlord robot that's making these decisions. Also, one side note, if we're talking about weird things like cover letters, is resume length. Is just I'm not an advocate for the one pager anymore. I know that was kind of a norm for a while, but when you start getting into like 5, 7, 9 pages, I think that becomes a little bit of a challenge for the recruiter to kind of understand the scope of your experience, or maybe it's too much information.
But Hunter, I really need you to know that I was the 50-meter dash champion at my elementary school. That's a true story, by the way. I'm the 50-meter dash holder at Watson Elementary in Hastings, Nebraska.
You'll have to show us the trophy sometime.
Last I knew, I actually got to go back there as a senior in high school, and my name was still up on the wall. So as far as I know, I'm still the 50-meter dash holder.
That's great. But I do have a question for you, Brian. So you've been with the company for over 10 years.
13 years, yeah.
Something, 13. Okay. Chief Data Officer. How long would your resume be?
I'm down
today?
to like a page and a half. And I would love to get it down to the one page that Hunter described. I simplify with bullets and try to hit just the highlights.
That's good advice.
You're hired, Brian.
First, folks, I get to keep my job, so appreciate it, Hunter.
Well, Hunter, outside of job-specific skills, what core qualities do you look for?
Yeah, so I think on the resume, you can obviously you're gonna list a lot of your skills and experience. I wouldn't necessarily include your high school sprint record or anything like that. But obviously, if you're involved with some activities outside of maybe what your normal job would be, I think those can like special professional activities. Those can be nice to see. Also, when you get on the phone with a recruiter, it's always a good opportunity to kind of be yourself and be the best representation of yourself. So just being genuine on that call, building a relationship with the recruiter. The recruiter can be an advocate on your side, as I was saying before, and so just kind of really having that honest and open discussion about your experience and career interests. I mean, the last thing we want to do is put somebody who has the skills and the wrong job with the wrong team. And so as a recruiter, we want to listen to, not just what's on the resume, but also where do you want to go with your career? What do you want to do? What are kind of your next steps? Not 5-year, long-term plan, but what do you kind of foresee here over the next year or two? And that way we can make sure as we present you to our managers, we're putting you in the right team or the right opening to be considered for.
That makes sense. And I know at Mutual, we really think about those ideal team player qualities. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, Shauna. So Mutual of Omaha, especially in IS, but also in a lot of other areas of the organization, we really focus on people that are humble, hungry, and smart. And so, really looking for collaborative team players or ideal team players who can work well with each other, who can maybe work through some challenging conversations or disagreements and come to a resolution. Those that maybe they saw a process improvement that wasn't part of their normal job, but they saw the benefit that it would create for the company or for their team, and so they've kind of gone out there to kind of resolve that or to add value, and so kind of having that hunger to kind of continue to grow, maybe laterally but also vertically in terms of the value that you add to the organization. And then obviously being smart. So Mutual of Omaha hires a lot of really smart and talented individuals, but I think in this instance where we're talking about is more of that EQ, that intelligence smart. So it's kind of knowing how and when and to talk to people, and if you need to adjust your communication style or kind of where you're communicating with them. I think it's an important part of being a professional, and part of the reason why Mutual of Omaha has such a great culture. We remain curious, we ask good questions, and assume positive intent. So I think those are some of the kind of the key tenets of things that we look for when we're talking to candidates.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Hunter. I'm Brian Poppy.
And I am Shauna Dorsey.
Thanks. Glad to be here. Appreciate your time.
This has been another edition of Tech Talk, so we will see you all next time.